And what are we going to do tonight? Tonight we're going to talk about not IQ Designer for a change, but it's something that could be used in IQ Designer or in what's the other machine? Luminaire. Okay, and the new machines, whatever they're called. Anytime you've got the on-screen designer, it can use it, except for the Destiny Dream machine, because we use decorative fills as part of the digitizing process. And also you can add them to your embroidery, and embroidery mode does the same thing, more or less. But other machines like the Destiny and the Dream machine have a bunch of them, but you can't add any new ones. With the Luminaire and the Solaris, you can add new ones to it. They're called PLF files. Today, to learn how to use the PLF files, how to transfer them. They'll be talking because I can't transfer them to my Destiny. But if you don't have the Luminaire or the Solaris, you can still make your own decorative fills, and you can still use lots of the other decorative fills if you have the palette or the PE Design 11. There's also lots of companies out there that make PLF files for you to use in your machine. And but like I said, if you don't have it, any machine that takes a PES format, if you have the palette or the PE Design 11, you can create your own and use them. It just becomes part of the embroidery design. So let me try and get some of this stuff out of the way. All right, so to use the background fills, here is my PE Design or my palette 11. This is what it looks like. Looks real similar to 10. Okay, so I'm not going to be using the wizard, so I'm going to go ahead and close it. Okay, so the first thing I do when I'm in 11, I go ahead and set up my workplace first. So here is a 4x4 hoop. I've set up the 4x4 hoop. So what I would do, you take the flower and you go to Design Settings and double click there. Come on, there. Okay, and here's where your hoops are, and I'm going to put it on an 8x8 hoop for now. So, okay. Okay, this is in metric, which makes me crazy right now. So if I go to the corner, upper left-hand corner of your workspace, click on that, it'll change to inches. And so I can see I've got an 8x8 hoop. I'll just pick a shape. So this is my 8x8 hoop, and I'm just gonna pick a shape in the middle. Okay, and I don't want it to stitch. I'm just going to do an outline. So the region fill is up here. You have region fill and line fill. I'm just going to turn that off to no sewing. Once I'm in the home key, over here, although it's hard to, I don't know if you can see it, where it says background fill, you see it flashing yellow and white at the top, sort of the almost near the center on the top row of icons. I'm going to hit icon fill, and I would just click on a section, click in here. I can tell it if I want it to echo fill or stipple fill or decorative fill or crosshatch or stripe fill. I'm going to go to decorative fill, which are all those built-in ones. Then I can hit next, and it gives me this. So over here, this is your offset spacing, and I'm just going to leave it as is. Decorative fill pattern. Here's where you change the pattern. And then if you look, you see a lot of these look familiar. These are our PLF patterns. These are the ones that are in the machines, right? Okay. You can see a lot of them. And you also have the ability to make your own or import some. You don't have to get them from here. I can get them from other places. So here's I've been playing. So let's just pick one. That one's fine. And then I hit OK. And see, now it showed up. So I want to go offset spacing, means how far away from the design do I want it? I'll take that down to 0. Means it goes right up against it. I can change the scale. Here's the decorative pattern, and here's the scale. This is 1.57 is what it was originally digitized as. And let's just go big, 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 big. Update. See, now it's a little bigger. minimize feed. What that does is instead of it causing jump stitches, it'll run along the edges to get from one section to another, and exclude internal patterns. Like if you have a design you bring in there, it's got spaces in the middle of it that you want to fill with your quilting, you can. Right now I have it to exclude. When I have excluded turned off, see how it puts the design in the center of the pattern as well. Okay, and then once you decide you like it, okay, we're okay. And there's what it looks like. You would save it as a PES file, bring it to any machine that had an 8x8 hoop. If it had a smaller hoop, you have to have the same corresponding hoop, because the biggest problem with palette is if I save this in an 8x8 file and I tried to use it on my Elegante, it won't work, because part of the palette or the PE Designs PES file includes hoop information. So hoop information, first thing it says 8x8 hoop, no matter if it's a 1x1 little teeny design, your machine's going to tell you change to larger hoop. Or earlier machines, if it isn't in their size hoop, it won't even read the file. So you want to make sure that the size hoop corresponds to whatever machine. Like if you're using a 5x7 machine, you wouldn't have anything bigger than a 5x7 hoop. Okay, so I'm going to just go to new file and that'll erase everything. So no, I don't want to save that. Okay, now to make our own decorative fills, or to use some of these other decorative fills to manipulate, but mostly we want to make your own. Up in the right-hand corner where it says Option and Help, you'll click on Option and it's going to bring a down arrow, and I want to go into Programmable Stitch Creator, which is the second option. And it brings up Programmable Stitch Creator. When you go up to the little flower pattern up at the top, you have what's in this box right here. You have new fill or stamp pattern. So in this program, you can create your own fill stamps. You know, that's where it does the stitching in a certain pattern. Then you have motif pattern. Let's just say new motif pattern. See, because just like, no, I don't want to save it. Excuse me. You'll notice it has a straight line. A motif is essentially your decorative stitches. On the Luminaire, you can create your own decorative stitches. Now, with the Solaris and the Luminaire, as well as the Destiny and the Dream, we do have motif runs. You know, we have the candle wicking and the chain stitch, and I think a couple others that we have as a line fill. But you also, in the Solaris and the Luminaire, you have the ability to have custom motif fills. It already comes with a line, so I'm just going to put a few of these in here. I'm not going to do anything fancy, but this you can create your own motif runs. These are PMF files that can also be saved on a USB drive and transferred to your machine. With Programmable Stitch Creator, you have to transfer things to the Luminaire and the Luminaire by USB. It does not transmit by network. Where you can, from usually a PES design, you can transfer from your computer software to the machine via the wireless. You can't do that here. I'm just going to make zigzags. As you see the right preview window, that's what that would look like. You can also use this as part of your PES design, you know, when you're working with regular designs. And to add nodes in between, you just click on a line and now you get a mode that you can make something else. The Programmable Stitch Creator has been around, I believe, since Palette 5 or PE Design 5. And that was 23 years ago. When I go to save this one, file, save as, I tell it where I want it to go. if you're looking for where it's going to save it, you see how that says motif? Where it saves it, it's going to be in the path is Babylock or Brother. It'll have Brother, then it'll have PE Design 11 or 10 or whatever. Then it's in this folder called Pattern. And you can see it doesn't tell you, but it's a PMF, palette motif file. And then you can save it, give it another name, and use that. The one we're going to use tonight is the new decorative fill pattern. And here you have a choice of opening an existing pattern, save or save as, and then it tells you what recent files you used. New and save changes. No, I hear yes. Okay. So now it looks a little bit different. Your field is completely blank now, and it's usually using a 4x4 inch field. I can even open the designs, and this time now they're called patterns, DF, decorative fill pattern, 1, 2, 3, whatever. You can actually take a look at the pattern, especially the fancier ones, see how they drew it, see how it stitches out, because what we create doesn't always work. And that way you can learn from those patterns. Just don't write over them. All of these PLF files can directly be copied to a stick and put into your machine and brought into the IQ or My Design Center so that you can read the PMF pattern motif file is what it comes out as. So yes, you can take that directly to your machine and it becomes a custom decorative fill. Okay, I'm not going to open one, so I'm going to cancel that. So we're going to draw it instead. So what we have here is I have the select, and it'll either be select or select all. Select point, you have home and view. First, I'm going to talk about view, because view sets up our folders here. Here is the axis. So I have mine turned off. They'll show up as dots if you have nothing, or they'll show up as lines if you have with axis showing. I like to see them, but when you're drawing, these all snap to a grid. So if you are drawing, let's go ahead and draw something. You can only draw straight lines, nothing else. But if you stick it in between, it's going to snap to the nearest axis. And then double click to finish, and it gives you a preview. Well, I don't want any of that. So I'm going to select and delete. Don't want that. Okay, so back to view. So I can make the grid smaller, and I usually leave it on 1/8, which is where I like to see it. If I'm ending up wanting to have curves, as you'll see later on in one little exercise we're doing, is I can turn that all the way to virtually almost uncountable pixels. So it'll go to the nearest pixel, and now you can get a rounded shape. But when you're drawing, it's always going to be a straight line. And how close you put them together on a curve is going to look like a curve, but it isn't really. Okay, and if you lose your preview window, here's where you turn it back on. And the status bar, you can turn it off and turn it on. I usually leave it. Guideline, you can drag a guideline down. Why you would want to use a guideline is with any quilting, continuous quilting, you want it to start and stop on the same axis. Leave it on 8 to the inch. Yeah. If I'm in centimeters, I use 10 to the inch just because it's easier to think it that way. This right here on the left-hand side says open template. That is bringing forth a graphic. That's all it does. It's giving you a background graphic, like a JPEG or a bitmap or something to copy over top of. If you have a template already, you can modify one. I don't have any templates. You can delete here. And also if you have a template here, or a modified template is modifying this design that you're bringing up. I don't have one right now. Then you have a way of making that template look lighter or darker so that you can see through it. Okay, and then home is where I mostly do all the work. You have things here like you can go into a new design here without having to go up to this little zigzaggy thing at the top. You have a shortcut here for new fill or stamp, new decorative fill, or open a decorative fill, save, undo, redo, question mark will bring you to the operations manual or the instruction manual. Okay, we have select point, which after we have lines, then you'll see what this select point does, and draw a line. Now these, we're not going, these are advanced features that I really am not too sure how to use yet. I will be learning. A good place to learn more information about the that I found recently, and I'm really happy with it. There's a site called Cynthia's embroidery.com. Cynthia's plural, not apostrophe s. She's got a lot of these background fills set for sale. She's got even a couple of free ones that you can download, but she also has a lot of videos about everything you ever want to know about PE design and the different forms of it. It's a very good learning place. And then over here you've got your make it larger, make it smaller type thing. And this right here is your zoom. You can other zoom tools that you have. You can zoom all, you can zoom on selected, you can do a hand pan, which I hate using that. I find it easier just to use the plus and minus and use the slider bars on the top and the sides in order to find the section I'm looking for. Although with 4x4, I can see that pretty well. Cut, copy, paste, duplicate, delete. You can flip horizontally and vertically and split at point. We're not going to do that today yet. We're just going to do the basics here. Okay, so let's start to draw. We're just going to make a basic pattern. So I'm just going to go up to the top and down and up and down. And when you double click, then you've got it shows you in the preview what that pattern's going to look like. Here I can go to select, and I usually do select all, and I can duplicate or copy and paste. I'm going to duplicate. And see, now I can use my arrow keys, move it down and up and around. So you can do a lot, get some interesting effects. You can also flip it. And so now look, you've got another effect. Flip horizontally won't do anything for this one, and then duplicate again. So you can get some really interesting patterns. And then duplicate again and again. Okay. Now the advantage to these is that it shows you the preview, and it's a quick way to get a pattern pretty easily. Let me delete that one here. However, you're never sure about the starts and the stops and the jumps. I found some of them, like this chevron one. If you take it into software, I've got a jump at the end of each row. Okay, and let's see, I'm going to go back to select all. Duplicate and flip vertically. And move it down. Okay, one more time. And bring it down. Now I still have gaps. I'll keep duplicating and moving them up, see what happens when I fill them in. Some fill in well, some don't. You can sit and play with these like all day long. If you decide you don't like a node, just sort of click on it and delete. You can hit the delete key on your keyboard and it deletes it. Or you can just, that picked a bunch of them and I deleted a bunch of them. I'm start again, just easier that way. There. Okay. if I wanted this to go continually, draw here. Let's make some changes here. So say you don't like something that you want to change. You got to select first the line you want to make changes to. Let's just say I'll make changes to this one. Now I can hit select point. And so now the red one is the one it's talking about. So I can, to add points, I just click on the line and you can drag it wherever you want to. These are called nodes. And you can do as many as you like. You can get some really interesting patterns. Oh, in here. In here. And see, that node is always going to snap to a grid. Now that makes an interesting pattern too. Yeah, I kind of like that. So let's just save this one. Say this is how we like it. We're not going to change it at all. So I would go here and go to save as, because I want to change its name. Okay, it's going to save in a file called pattern. Same place it was before, and I'm just going to call this one boxes because it looks like boxes. And I'm saving it as a PLF file. And here you have an opportunity to change it. You can give it a default size. That means it's going to be used in a minimum 4x4 hoop, although you can make it smaller. And it either is millimeters or inches, it's up to you. That you're going to have to play with, and it depends on the design. So I save it. Okay, now I can go into, where's my regular palette? So now here's my 8x8 square, and I'm just, again, going to take another shape. It likes to have something in there, so I'm just going to, triangle's good too. And take that out. Okay. There's my design. So I'm going to go to my home, background fill, and decorative fill, and I'm going to go, want it to go on the outside. Next. Yep, that's good. And now when I go to select it, there it is, boxes. There's the one I just made. Okay, and now I can change its scale because it's go to 2 inches. And update preview. Okay, now that's an interesting background fill. And now this can be saved as a PES design. But if I wanted to save this motif and put it into my Luminaire and have it brought up through my design center, you would save this file. Again, you could just go to File, Save As. Instead of saving it into pattern, you're going to save it into, I don't have a drive on, you could save it to a D drive or anywhere else that you like. Let's just go ahead and do another one. And so let's bring one where I've got a template here. Okay, here's that loops design that we had done in Brilliance. So this is just the hand drawing that I did. I'm just going to make this bigger because I found the secret to getting these things to work is to make sure that they start and stop right near the edge. You know, otherwise it's going to look like you'll have the spaces. Okay. Okay, so now this is a backdrop, and then over here, this makes the backdrop lighter. You can't see that, or darker. So now I can go to home, and this is a continuous line. And one thing I found, I couldn't rotate it, which drove me crazy. Indeed. I couldn't rotate it for nothing, no matter what I did to the JPEG file. So I just digitized it this way. Then when I was done, then I could rotate it once it had stitches with it. Okay, so now I'm going to go to draw line. But first of all, sorry, it's not going to do the curves. So I have got to move this axis down, way down to almost nothing. Now you go into home and I'm going to draw, and you're going to just take your time, and it's doing little, and I'm not being too worried about, I'm only going to do a few loops, and I've already done it, spent like all day Tuesday getting this done, and I haven't had a chance to stitch it out, but I will be happy to send it to you, and you guys can try it on the Luminaire, see what it does. Okay, and I'm just following. And I found it would have jumps unless I did it continuously to where you had one continuous line. So this one actually works pretty well. You could also scan in any quilting design or any shape and just keep, I'll just go up to here. I'll just do the top row till and it's going to look really terrible. It's going to be this, you're going to want to take the time to put those nodes really close together. Okay, I'm just going to stop here. Okay, so there's the design, and you look at that and go, ew, that looks horrible. You would go to your view, put this down, the visibility, so you don't see the background anymore. This is where you're going to go to select point, and you see all your nodes. So now you could come and fix some, put more in there. And that way you get, oh, we're just doing something that sort of looks like another node. And the only way it's going to look round is if you keep putting more nodes in between to give that rounded look. And you just keep looking at your preview to see if you're even closely there. Although you can click off, and then go to select, and that way you can see, oh yeah, see, all this needs to be done better. This needs more nodes. And you can sit and play with this until you get it looking like you like it. Then you would, again, once you got it like you liked it, well, let's just take this and select it. See what we can do with copy and paste. Flip. See, what does that do? Not much. You can spend hours playing with this stuff. I have a clue how it would sew out, but it sure does look interesting.
Looks like a hunchback holding a bowling ball.
It does.
It's very strange.
Okay, well, that's enough play. I'm not even going to save that. That's pretty pathetic. Delete. That's terrible. Let me put the grid back on. One that's fun to start with is making stars. I went to get a shape. Let me go to new pictures here. Screenshots. Okay, found it. What I did is I went into palette and I did a star. Okay, there it is. Can you see that? Okay, what I did was I went into the palette and I picked up the star shape, and and then I made it bigger than how I wanted it to look. In other words, I made stars up and down so that it completely filled. I had the whole star here. I had it way outside the area of where I wanted the star. And then I took a screenshot and I hit the print screenshot, and then I drew a box around that 4-inch square, and then it copied this. So now I went ahead and I made you this a little darker so I could see it. Okay, and then I just use this to copy. So here I drew a line and I just started up here. Here's one. Okay, and then double click there, and then I did another, I just followed it. So I needed it to go here. And this one could do a whole star. Until I got the entire, till it all showed up. And there's one star, and leaving it off so that it didn't quite get it right. There it is. And another one here. It's not perfect. I spent a lot of time doing the one. This is the one I did today that I didn't get done what I was supposed to do because I was too busy playing. And then I have this one here. So it starts here. There. It's not bad, half bad. Is it perfect? No, because I didn't draw it perfectly. But that actually looks like a half decent background fill using just a simple shape. Let's go and open one. Open one of these pattern ones that look really good. Let me find one. New. And then open. There it is. Okay. Now, if you take a look at this one, let's go to the view and make that a little. Okay, if you take a look at this, you'll notice that if you pay attention to these axes, that this one corresponds to the one down here. So you've got to have the matching place to match up on all four sides in order for it to connect in the machine. And that one doesn't. Yeah, that one does. So it ends here and here. This is where the guidelines come in. This one ends here. This one ends here. So therefore, see how now when they're put together, they match up seamlessly. So that's the trick to getting it to sew out decently. If you're going to have a lot of jumps, that means that it's not connecting correctly. So that's why it'd be helpful to look at these to see how they organize drawing in order for it to stitch out rather nicely. So let me go to new. No, I don't want to save anything. That I did a few of them. I go into home and I want to open. The chevron is one that I did before. So here's one where it's just a simple chevron. And this one I'm going to stitch out. So like if I pick this one. Okay, that's what it looks like there. And then it acts like a regular background fill. And I want to now realize here's your 4x4, but you have 8x8 here. So that's why it goes into the 8x8 so it can show on all four sides what it's going to look like when they're combined together. I didn't stitch them out yet. I'm going to stitch this out with a design in PES.
If you open that in IQ Designer, can you edit it in there?
No, you can't. We can't edit our decorative fills.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, no, you can't. No, yeah, no. And nor can we draw decorative fills in IQ Designer. You have to have palette or PE Design 11 in order to draw your own background fills. And you can transfer them as background fills or transfer them as a PES design. It's up to you what you're doing. Maybe find another one. I did boxes. I did a chevron. Oh, I was going to show you what the loop one looks like finally. Where it says DF patterns, those are the built-in ones. Okay, there's the loops finished. Here's what the loops looked finished. This one I spent a lot of time with, getting these nodes as smooth as I could. And yet, and I haven't sewed it out, so I'm gonna send you the loops as well. And I'll sew it out, and you
Thank
guys,
you.
if you, no, I'm not gonna make anybody sew anything out. But
When we do this, do we need to do it in an 8x8 hoop? Is that what you're telling me?
no, in fact, I'd rather you do it in something else. If you're, now, if I had sent it to you as a PES file, well, I don't need to do that because they're gonna look the same in my machine or in yours if it's a PES file. But in the PMF file, I don't know how it scales because I can't use it on my machine, so scale it to make sure you can use the offset, the scale, the randomness, and all that, those other tools that you can use with the other files. See if they work with this as well. I don't know. So this one, I think I'm going to try to use this one because I like this one actually. And the hardest part was making sure that this looked nice up here. And what I did to make sure that they would go together is that I would take one and put it on a 4x4 file on palette and then duplicate it in the 9 spots all around it to see how it looked when it played together. Like, did these match up close enough or not? So they did, and I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that these matched up so that I essentially have 2 continuous borders. I have one going here, all the way over to here. And but yet I don't know if it's going to do a jump right in there because that's the end of the pattern. I hope not. If you get a jump in that spot, let me know because this is all new territory. And this is addictive, guys, because I could do this all day long. Here's what my finished star one looked like. And that looks half decent. I haven't figured out how they get those real complex designs, but I'm gonna. This one I got from, it's a free download and I haven't had a chance to really investigate it. Oh, I gotta clear it because it'll put one on top of the other. By the way, when you have one open, it'll keep opening them unless you go to new every time. Okay, now I'm gonna open. And I put it triple hearts. Here we go. It's in here. Okay, that's one that I got from Cynthia's Embroidery. This is her free download. She had this one and she had a motif run, which is interesting as well. So I'm going to try that out. But why I brought this one up is notice at the top and the bottom, everywhere it touches here, it's got a corresponding other half here. So I noticed when it seems like when you're designing these, you almost have to draw those stars all around it so that, and then I kept making it so that it would split in the middle here, and it split in the middle there, so that this side corresponds to that. So see, here's where that split is. So I think the original design is right here. This square right here is your original design, and then she duplicated it 4 times, and then this duplicates it 16 times to see what it looks like. How it stitches out, I'm not sure. You want to save it as a PMF file so that it can go to your machine, and I'm going to save it as in the that pattern folder. So like if I wanted to use that in palette, it has to be in that pattern folder in order to use it there. Here it is. Let's see how it behaves. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bigger. Make it 4 inches, not much difference. Okay, let's see how this stitches out. So I'm going to go real slow here. It goes in the middle. It's starting in the middle, okay. Now I wonder how she did that so that it looks like it's continuous. I'm not seeing a lot of jumps. Yeah, and see, then it finishes up along the edge. So that one actually pathed really nicely. Gotta figure out how to do that. I guess it's just sitting down with a pencil, and just don't lift it and see how are you gonna get to the other side? Let's go to new design. This time I'm gonna change it to a 4x4 hoop. And property. And the 4x4. That way we can see how it looks in the original format. Want it tiny. Background fill. Near the end. There. Okay. Like 4x4. Okay, that should be how she digitized it. Okay. Now let's see how this one stitches. She drew it as a 4x4 unit starting in the middle. So that was interesting. I went ahead and stitched out all of the designs that we did in the Programmable Stitch Creator of the palette, or the PE Design 11 software. So let's just see what they looked like. And I created a PES file because I don't have a machine that can handle the transfer of the background fill directly to the machine. That you would need either the Solaris or the Luminaire. I have a Destiny, so therefore I created a PES file. And the design itself was 4x4. However, I wanted to make it a little bigger to see what would happen when we'd expand this in the files. The other gals are testing the PMF files in their Solarises and Luminaires, and hopefully they'll get back to me soon to see how they turned out using the PDF file in the IQ Designer software or the My Design Center software. Okay, so the first one I did, here is the chevron, and I created this file without using the outline, which causes the designs to have a few more jump stitches. And on this one, it started stitching up here, and then it went across, did all of these, finished these two, and then it went and stitched those at the top. It did all triple stitches, even though I did not specify that it be done with a triple run stitch, but it just did it anyway. Okay, so it did create jumps, as you can see. If you can see all of these little jumps all along the side. Okay, had I put the outline, it would have stitched continuously or almost continuously. Just to remind you, this is what the original design looked like in 4x4. The next one was the boxes, and this one clearly turned out to be the best one. Again, I did not have an outline. Started stitching up here, then it jumped to the middle, and it did all of the rest of it continuously. That turned out really well. So there's jump stitch here and jump stitch there, and that's all we had to deal with. This turned out very well. I want to look at this. I believe this one would work well as an edge-to-edge quilting pattern. Okay. Next one is the stars, and I would not use this one at all. This one was a disaster. Again, it had more jump stitches than I could shake a stick at. I mean, they were just everywhere. And it jumped everywhere. Also, see how the star goes up into the pattern above? But at the edge of the design, it does not. So it really does stand out that you can really tell where the original design is. See, here's the original design. I believe this would have worked out a lot better had I had an even number of rows and columns. It did it horizontally pretty well, but when it started expanding it vertically, I don't like that, and I don't like that. Not crazy about this one. This one here is the free triple hearts design from the Quilting Elements site. I'll put the site in the comments below. And this was the free design. It was called Triple Hearts. This one would work very well even if you enlarged it, made it bigger, and in order to be a continuous edge-to-edge quilting design. I did this little corner, then it just jumped over here, and then it expanded out all the way around. I do like the way this stitched out. I do like her designs. Okay, now here's the original loop-de-loop design that I did a few weeks back as part of the Embroidery Stitch Artist to do an edge-to-edge quilting. How this stitched out. I'll mask it off. Here's the original 4" by 4" design, and here's a start and here's a stop. It ignored all those starts and stops. Even though I drew it in continuously, it did not stitch it that way. So even though I drew it continuously, drew the line continuously so it was all one line, when it stitched out it would come around, do this part, come around, do this part. It ended up doing a lot of double and triple stitches here and there. Could not figure out why. When it went outside the original 4" by 4" original format, when it went, this one had a bigger piece, so that one actually turned out well, but it sure did jump around a lot over here. And it started by going all the way around the outside and stitching that, and had jumps every which way. And then it stitched the middle section, then it stitched the top, and then it stitched the bottom. So if you want to use this as an edge-to-edge quilting, I would use the Embroidery Stitch Artist, because there I could get a single run or a double run without all of these crazy jumps. And as you can see, it did jumps all around the outside, one here, one here. Yeah, I wasn't too happy with this one. Now, it greatly improved if I decide to use this as a true background fill to a quilt block. So I added this shape so it would simulate an applique in the middle. And then I used this as a true background fill, and I allowed the line to go around it. And what happened is that it stitched all in one piece. I think it did the middle portion first, and then it went all the way around, and it stitched very well when using the line around the outside. So I like this, the way this one turned out. This one I decided to change the scale. Even though it was digitized at 4" by 4", when I created the PES file, I made it 2" by 2", and it stitched very well also. However, it did create a few more jump stitches. This one stitched all the way around the outside, then it did the middle, then it jumped to this box, and then it jumped to this box. Looking at this here, it's a little more boxy because I can see the edges along wherever. Like here's a full pattern. You can see the full patterns and the partial patterns a lot more clearly, but it did turn out nice and makes a really excellent background fill. If you would like the PMF files for these designs, with the exception of this one, I'll give you the link so you can get that on your own. But all of these other ones, if you want the PMF files to try them out, to see if you can improve on them, then send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com, and I'll be happy to send them to you. The PMF files are only useful to you if you have a Solaris, a Luminaire, Palette 11, or PE Design 11. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to use the files. So if you would like the PES files in order to just try stitching them out, you're welcome to try them. To also send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com. And when you do send me an email, tell me what type of file you're requesting. And I believe the ones that are PES, I have it in like 2 or 3 different sizes for you to try it out. Okay. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.